What did you do with your wedding gift if you're already married? She used it to move to the States and fulfill her dream of higher education. My guest this week is Mastaneh Sharafi, an immigrant from Iran. With a Ph.D. in Nutritional Sciences, she's now a senior director at Ritual. As a female leader and minority, she has many lessons for the naysayers and the skeptics among us. Using one motto she learned from her graduate school advisor. So go ahead, grab your cup of tea and join me in this episode of Empowering Conversations. Hello and welcome to the Empowering Conversations podcast, a place to get inspired, challenged, and empowered by stories of immigrants who build their success from zero. I'm your host, Mehran.
I came to US in 2005, just 3 months after my wedding to my high school sweetheart. I was 23 and my husband was 25. And we didn't come here as an immigrant. We actually came to pursue or dream of getting higher education in the United States, which is a home to a number of top universities in the world. I wanted to continue my study in nutritional sciences. Nutrition has always been my passion since a very young age. You know, Mehran, I was born during the war between Iran and Iraq, the war that took 8 years. And, you know, wars have their devastating consequences. One of the consequences that usually people don't talk about is undernutrition, which actually has big impact in people's lives. It can remain across generations, impacts pregnant moms, kids, and future generations. And there are studies on wars, famine, and how it can impact fetus and future generations. So it made me so passionate to learn about nutrition, and I wanted to pursue a higher degree so I could have a better and bigger impact. So my husband and I decided to come to US, and we just had a couple of $1,000s with us that we had it from our wedding gifts. So we came just with that amount of money, and we had a lot of passion. We wanted to learn, study, and follow our dreams. So my husband started his Ph.D. at Pennsylvania State University, while I still had 1 semester left to finish up my undergrad honors thesis. I used that time to learn English and apply for graduate school. My English level was very limited during that time, but I knew that I needed to improve my English. So right after I came, like a few months after I came, I took TOEFL and GRE exam. My TOEFL was okay, my GRE math was good, but my verbal score was bottom 10%. It's pretty hard for international students, especially with the GRE, and the words were like so complicated. So I started like meeting different faculties. It's very hard for faculties to provide assistantship for master level students who just came to the United States and they're not speaking English very well. There was one faculty who actually gave me the admission letter that told me, go and study and take the GRE exam again and come back here in 3 months. Just knowing that she was so interested and giving me that opportunity made me so motivated. If you ask my husband, at the beginning when I came to US and I was starting to learn English, I was just memorizing like 6 words per day. But I got so motivated after she told me that I may have a chance that by the end of the 3 months, I was memorizing 100 words per day. So I took my GRE exam, and the math perfect score and the verbal, I got top 30%. So I was so excited. I met the faculty and showed my score. And she said, wow, your verbal score changed from bottom 10% to top 30%. If you can do this in 3 months, I believe you can do anything. Congrats, you will be my graduate student. I never forget that day. I think it's really helped me gain confidence, especially during the first few months of coming to United States. So that's how I started being able to get a faculty who showed interest and provided me funding. So I didn't spend any money out of my pocket. I didn't actually have money from my pocket to spend. And I started studying and pursuing my dream.
That's quite incredible. And I loved how your advisor said it. You know, if you could do that, you could pretty much do anything.
She told me, my American students get lower score in their verbal than what you got. If you can do that, you can do anything. And that really helped me think in many different aspects of my life. And I have that as a motto in my life. If I can do that, I can do anything.
It's amazing how one person and one sentence can impact your life forever.
Absolutely.
Positively and negatively, right?
Absolutely.
Besides English and financial difficulties, what were some challenges that you faced during early part of your immigration?
There are some challenges, and I think there are some sacrifices that I made. And to me, one of the most important thing was not being able to see my parents. We always have plans for our life. We think of our life as something that is laid out for us, like a train ride with its designated destination, like birth, finishing a school, getting married, getting job, having kids. But in reality, is nothing of that sort. In fact, it's a journey with lots of surprising turns. There will be stations that are closed. There will be stations we may not stop at. Other stations we may stop by, and even we don't plan for them. So I wanted to visit my parents during my graduate studies, which actually took 7 years because I studied 2 years for master's, 5 years for my Ph.D. and my dietetics. And because of the political clash between Iran and US, it was unlikely for people like me with one entry visa to leave the country and get back to stay in United States. So I decided, and it was like a biggest decision, that, okay, I'm going to stay in United States. I'm going to finish my degrees. In that train ride station for me is closed. I cannot visit my parents, and I can see them later. But still, I think this was the most challenging, and I think the biggest sacrifice I've done, not being able to see my parents. I had so much support from them. They were so proud of me, but still you feel that guilty feeling that I wish I could have spent more time, especially that I lost my dad 3 years ago. And I always think about it. I wish I could have spent more time. But I know he was very proud of me. He was very proud of my accomplishment. But still, that guilty feeling, it still hurts.
Wow.
Leaving family behind is one of the hardest decisions we immigrants make. I remember the first time I left home. Standing on the escalators, getting farther and farther from my family as they were waving goodbye, I took a snapshot. And I wondered, who would be missing the next time I'm standing on the other escalator going down? The fear has been intense, and facing that fear is unimaginable.
Have you ever felt there was a cap on your growth?
I think I was lucky that I grew up in a not very traditional family back in Iran. My dad was very open-minded. I have one sister, and my dad is very supportive of females and empowered me, my sister, and my mom. We were very respected. And growing up in north of Iran, many families like are my family. So I was around the family that respected females a lot. So the first time that I was shocked was when I actually went to Tehran, and I was seeing people from different cities and different cultures from different parts of Iran. We were all in the dorm, and that's when I was shocked that, wow, the values they were brought up is very different from the values I was brought up. And I got interested about different culture and how to interact with people in different cultures, like people from South, West, East, people from religious background, non-religious background. They are like so different people, so different background. And honestly, you can learn from each of those people. Again, I think with the social skills, the emotional intelligence, and how you can work with different people, I think the life I had in dorm during my undergrad helped me to know that not everyone is like me and not everyone should think like me. And I can use that opportunity to learn from these interactions. And that actually helped me with my social interaction later. When I came to a new country with a total new culture and the way I interacted with people. So I think that life in the dorm really helped me.
Have you ever felt there was an external block to limit your growth as you were climbing the corporate ladder and growing?
I'm a person that don't give up, and I don't believe in giving up. And maybe I define giving up differently, but I believe in a good ending. So the moment I think something is not going well, I tell myself I'm not even near the ending, because the ending should be always good. So I may change my direction at some point, but I don't call it giving up. I call it changing the direction, and I celebrate it as a learning lesson. Some people say, oh, I'm in minority, and they feel that they are victimized. Again, I think it's not your environment, it is you, the quality of your mind, your determination, your passion that shape who you are, and also your future and how you grow. So my advice always is like not to feel that we are victims of our environment. We only become a victim once we accept within ourselves that we are a victim. And being a minority, for me, it's not a limitation. It actually is what made me stand out. I always say, embrace your diversity. Like, as a person who looks different, who has different accent, the name that sounds differently is very strange for people. I think all of them actually helped me to stand out, to be different. And when you think about the society that is so fast-paced, I always think of it as like, you know, those animation that shows fast-paced society, like lots of objects moving, black and white, everything is the same color. Now you have something that looks, sounds different. It gives a unique perspective. So you can stand out, embrace it, and make it as a tool to actually grow. So I think as an immigrant, I used it as an opportunity, and it's really helped me to grow.
This comment reminded me of the example I read in Adam Grant's book, Give and Take. David Walton was a trial lawyer who won a case not only because he was a phenomenal lawyer, but also because many jurors heard him stutter. They appreciated the courage he showed as he led the trial, and they connected with him at a different level. This was his humanness. Coaching tip: if you're concerned about the role your gender, your accent, your skin color, your clothing, your nationality plays in your growth, dig deeper. To me, it is about your mindset and, of course, what your culture taught you. In our 16th episode, I talk about the role Layla's culture played in her professional growth and how her life took a turn in less than 2 years.
In your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle for women to reach C-level positions or even grow in their careers?
I think confidence is like, we need to be confident in ourselves. Again, environment, yes, unsupportive environment is a factor, but again, we need to look within, as I mentioned. And honestly, I think female from Middle Eastern culture, they have better chance to become leaders. And I have a reason for that. Just imagine growing up in a traditional Middle Eastern culture, that the environment is not supportive of women to grow. For a woman to grow, they need to go over so many obstacles, like the way they think about females, that, oh, their main role is to be wives, to be mothers. So when I think about that, I always think about it as a young plant sprouting in a desert that has bad environment, not enough water, barely cultivated soil. But to survive, the plant needs to adapt to the environment. The leaves, for example, become thickened. So the same thing with the women, for example, from Middle East and women in general. To grow, they learn actually how to adapt to the environment that is not very supportive. Then they kind of become thick skinned. And because you learn how to adapt, you have a better chance actually to become a successful leader in work and in the current society. And another thing is you have better sense of appreciation for what you have because you've been there, you've been through the pains, you've been through a lot of barriers and you pass them. And I think both adaptability and sense of appreciation for what you've achieved help you become more successful.
So you feel because back home they didn't feel appreciated, and because they had to really thrive in an environment that was not supportive of them, they learned to adapt. And that's what, when the environment is a little more ready and it's a little more nurturing here in the US, that can result in a faster growth.
I think so. I think that's how it helped me. US has a long way to go. Like it's still you see women inequality at work. But compared to the base that we came from, I think we have more sense of appreciation here because of what we've been through and what we learned. I think women in general are suffering around the world. Like it's still the equality is a big, important issue. But yeah, I think for my case, that learning to be adaptable and the sense of appreciation really helped me.
Mostly women suffer from perfectionism, especially women from our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that you're a perfectionist?
I was, I'm still trying not to be. The thing is that being a mom of two kids, 1 4-year-old, 1 6 months old, and having a full-time job, directing a team, if you are perfectionist, honestly, it's gonna put so much pressure on you and you cannot do everything together. So I decided that, for some of the works, I don't need to be 100%. Maybe I could be 80%. There is the 80-20 rule. If you do 80% of the things, it's still good. So I try to teach myself, okay, as long as I do 80% of the work and it's done, I should be happy. As a mom, and when I have a full-time job and I sent my son to daycare when he was 7 months old, and you have that guilty feeling, I'm not spending that much time. And as a perfectionist, you want to do everything to teach your kids, for example. It was a challenge at the beginning to find a balance and find a way that makes you feel okay as a perfectionist and also something that works. So I remember I had a resolution last year, the New Year resolution, and I told myself, okay, my New Year resolution is I'm going to have more eye contact with my son. Just that, because I don't have enough time, honestly, like many moms who can stay home. Even though a staying home mom, I have so much respect. It's one of the hardest jobs. You spend a lot of time nurturing, helping, all the housework. And I think women who are staying home, they're doing so much. So because I didn't have that opportunity to spend that much time with my son, I told myself, okay, I want to think about the quality. So my goal is to have more eye contact. And the reason for that is we are so distracted with our phones, with TV, especially when we get back from work. The first thing I do, I cook. So I cook every night. And then I just have like 1 or 2 hours to spend with my kids. So with my son, okay, if I have that 1 hour or 2 hour, I want to have it exclusive to him. When he talks, I want to just look into his eyes. I want to have a better interaction. So I think that was a really good New Year resolution for me. And I'm still like doing it. And I'm really happy with the decision I made. I think we have a better connection right now. And he's been very happy, especially right now with the COVID-19. Kids get bored at home and I still need to work. But I try to make the best of the time I have with my son.
It's a great, resolution. Because when you start making that eye contact, then that means, less phone, less TV, more engagement,
Exactly.
more listening, more connection. But it's something that is measurable. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I was like, oh my gosh, the difference I saw after I made that resolution. I tried to do it. I remind myself because you get distracted. Like, and my plan is okay, work at work, family at family time. But still, you have that phone and you get that notification. You want to check your email, and then I remind myself, okay, I need to have that eye contact, because if you just want to talk, then you're going to talk with the kids, but you're not going to have that contact. And the level of the interaction is so different when you're looking into their eyes comparing to just talking to them and looking at TV or looking at your phone. So I'm very happy with this New Year resolution and the way we are interacting and the connection that we already have. So I'm going to continue. We'll see.
And I'm going to steal that from you.
Please do.
So, as we know, perfectionists usually have difficulty making the right decision or the perfect decision. I know you alluded to it, but do you have any other tips for those that are listening and suffer from perfectionism and they have a difficulty making decisions?
With the perfectionists, they always want to do it by themselves because they know that the only way that it's going to be perfect is they handle it. But that's not true. I think you need to trust other people. You need to trust their judgment. Like many actually people in leadership, some of them I see that they're suffering because the way they direct their team, they want to check everything. They're kind of micromanage. This is like characteristics of the perfectionists as leaders. They micromanage. So I try not to do it. Even though I'm a senior director at my company, I don't consider myself as director. I consider myself as someone who empowers. I don't know if you have seen the research. There was a research on directors. If you direct a group, they're gonna do the job faster. But when you empower them, it may take longer, but they're gonna do the job better. They learn to rely on themselves because they're already empowered. On the other hand, what I mentioned was getting help. So trust your team. If you have a team that you already know that they have the knowledge, you just give them some resources and you make sure that they are well monitored so they can achieve the goals. So I think, yeah, getting help, empowering people rather than micromanaging them are some of the tips that I have in mind.
If you're a new listener and haven't listened to our 8th episode where I talked extensively about perfectionism, pains a perfectionist feel, and how this excessive attention to perfect outcome impacts their life and their careers, make sure you go back and listen. This 20-minute episode is full of information and solutions to improve a perfectionist's life, as well as those who interact with them in life and at work. There must be a reason it is still one of our most downloaded episodes.
Do you have any book recommendation for us?
Yeah, after I have my kids, my heart beats for kids, and one of my dreams is to help dreamers, those undocumented kids that are in the United States, at least help some of them make their dreams to reality. And I'm very passionate about this area. One of the books that I got very interested is Lost Children Archive by Valeria recently. It was inspired by the policy of separating children from their parents at the Mexican-American border. As an immigrant, like I know like how crazy it is for people to immigrant. They leave their countries. You love your country. There are many immigrants that have to go, have to take the risk, pass the border, and then separating children from their family. It's so crazy. I always get so emotional about this topic, and I think it's a really good book to read.
Thank you again, Mastaneh. It was a great honor to be talking with you and hearing your story and all that you've gone through to be where you are today.
Thank you so much, Mehranjun, for having me. I really enjoyed my conversation. Hopefully, with our discussion today, we shaped some thinkings and inspired some minds, and hopefully people find it helpful.
What was a takeaway from this episode of Empowering Conversations with an Immigrant? Was it the way Mastaneh looked at life as a train ride, or her optimism regarding Middle Eastern female leadership, or her lightheartedness? Write us a comment and let her know. Let her know what is your takeaway. How did hearing her story create an aha moment for you? As always, thank you for listening and sharing our immigrant stories with your friends and writing us a review. By the way, if you haven't joined our Facebook community yet, make sure you do. You can search Empowering Conversations with the Z in the search bar or click on the link below. That's the place to interact with the heroes in this podcast. Your inspiration means the world to us, and we know we will have you and your friends in the next episode of Empowering Conversations, where all of us can learn from successful immigrants, one conversation at a time.